Hello, for this layout I have actually already previously done it but was not happy with the result, so I've redone it and I've stuck a lot of it down, but let me talk you through it. So you will need to start the layout with a 12 by 12 background, whether it's a page or a designer paper. My biggest suggestion is to keep it fairly plain. I've chosen a black shimmer. And the reason why I have redone this was that if you make it too busy or make it too many colours for me, and it may be different for you, I felt like it was too much, just too much. So this is the one I created earlier and I already did a video for, but I think I probably have learnt by my mistakes. I think the papers I used were too busy, and I think the background presented too much pattern as well. So, but I think these, because it was for flowers, I think the floral prints were just way too much. I probably would have been better off cutting a larger square out of one of the floral prints and doing plain blocking on those. So I just wanted to point that out because I was not very happy with it in the end. So anyway, you will need to cut, once you start with your 12 by 12 background, you will need to cut for, if you wish to mount your squares, double mount them like I have done, you will need to cut 4 squares out of contrast cardstock, 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 inches. And then your main piece at the back here, this green, as you can see, I cut that 5 1/2 by 5 1/2. Now the next part is the interesting part. So to get all your blocking pieces, I used a white cardstock, because the white cardstocks are going to either have a title or photos on them, and they the photos will be 3 inches by 3 inches. So I cut the white cardstock 3 2/16. It'll be in the notes, but anyway, so it's slightly larger to allow for a 3 by 3 photo. So then with this particular version of it, I'm using the Welcome Home paper pack, and what I did discover, and I think we probably underrate them and don't use them enough, was the Variety Matte Pack. So here is my Variety Matte Pack from the Welcome Home. And if you're cutting up smaller, so people always say to me, you know what, I don't know, I never buy the Variety Matte Pack because I don't know, I don't think I'll ever use it. But, I used to be like that, but now I use them a lot. And whether it's just for mounting photos with the larger ones to mount your photos, or sometimes some of the titles in these that you can cut out, or for journal, not just for journal boxes, are just beautiful and fantastic. And you cut them out smaller, you can do a lot with them. So I discovered that you could also use the larger mats to cut out these squares. So that's what I've done. And I think, because they all go together, the consistency works really, really well. So I chose 3 different size of the larger 6 1/2 by 4 1/2 mats, and I cut 4 2-inch squares of one colour, 4 2-inch squares of another, 4 2-inch squares of the last one. So there would be enough to cover all 4 mats. And then, unlike the original version where I cut, I can show you the original version, I cut 2 1-inch squares. For this version, I decided it would work better if I cut a rectangle that was 1 inch wide by 2 inches long, and that's how I've got all that. So we'll go ahead and stick that down because it's the last one I need to stick at here, and then we'll get it all down to the page. And now when you put it together, you can have your squares going in, your photo squares going in any direction. I did find that for this one, and with my original one, I did all 4 mats the same. For this one, I actually mixed my 2-inch squares around and my rectangles, so it gives it a totally different look. Now you can rotate them so your photos end up in outside corners or the inside, but if you do the inside and you don't have smaller photos, you can then use a photo to cut in a larger circle, and you'll see when I'm finished how that could work. So it gives you lots of options. But I think the biggest thing I learned out of doing it was that colour choices and patterns is the most important thing. If you make them too busy, your photos will just be lost in the busyness, and that's what I found with the original version I did. Hence the new version, which I really like. I'm very happy with. And I think the other thing I did was that because I was quite time poor, I picked out the colours and thought, oh yeah, that'll all work. But I hadn't done any pre-planning with it. And so when I put the video together, I stood back and went, oh, that's a lot. And I just felt like, yeah, so I'll probably end up pulling that page apart, I think, because I'm not very happy with it. Okay, so you create 4 squares like that. And as I said, you could have them so they're all, the photo square goes to the outside if you want, or you could rotate them so they're all different. So you have one on the outside, then one on the inside, and then one on the up on the top, and then one that way, I suppose. So you could have them rotated always, but the way I have chosen to place them is, let's get it right, is to have all the flower squares to the outer corner. So let me show you before we adhere it. I have photos of my lemon tree. It's a dwarf fruit lemon tree, and it produces so many lemons. And I thought I might use that to cut my photos. So I'll go ahead and I'll adhere those down and get my photos on there and the rest of my embellishments, and we'll come back and show you the finished product. I think the key thing also with your embellishments, I might use 3 photos and a title maybe, but this is what I was saying, you could use a large photo in the center there, and you could see how that could work really well. I think because the papers already have a lot going on, you know, you'll want to be very selective in how you choose embellishments to go on this page, which I haven't done yet. So I'll go ahead and do that, and we'll come back to you shortly. Okay, I've gone ahead and everything's been adhered down now, and I have added embellishments and my photos, and this is about a little dwarf root lemon tree, and it produced in one go all of these lemons. It was like 34 lemons. It was so many. And the Welcome Home pack just works perfectly with any gardening photos. So I foam squared these 3 and then just stuck these down. And this came from the Must Have Titles Pack 4. So you can see the difference between that and that. Some people might like that. That was just way too much for me. I dislike it a lot. But this, I think, is just beautiful, and I'm really happy with the result. So my idea came to life in the end. Okay, thank you.